Hello and welcome to DCP SideQuest episode number 76, the final 2020. I think it's the final 2020. Yeah. The roundup,
Probably.
the what happened in 2020. Let's have it type of gaming podcast edition.
This is the type of, you know, when it gets towards the end of the year and your favorite shows have like the end of the year kind of Christmas episode.
The Christmas
That's
episode.
it.
Yeah, it's the
This is
holiday
the
episode.
Christmas- it's just, yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Except Christmas is cancelled this year, so
Yeah.
we just got the.
I'm just gonna get fat
if
and
you're
watch
in the UK.
Wonder Woman.
That sounds like a plan. That's what I want
That's
to
what
do.
I'm
Great.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. We got a turkey. We got a ham. You know.
Oh man, really?
Yeah, we're going all out.
We were going
Nice.
to, but in the UK, we were supposed to be going to my brother's for Christmas, and then our government has told us 4 days before Christmas, now you're not allowed to mix with anybody, so you can't go anywhere.
Well-
and now we have no food, so we need to work this out in 4 days.
That's because in England, you guys somehow managed to manifest a different strain of COVID. I don't know how you managed to do it, but
I have
there's
no
a
idea.
whole other strain of the
British COVID is suddenly here now.
and
It's
it's
crazy.
it's more contagious. So fun times all
Oh,
around.
Yeah.
lovely.
I don't even leave the house, so you know it's nothing's changed for me.
They call it the Jar Jar Binks strain, so I don't think you
Ooh,
have
Jar Jar
anything.
But
to
that
do
would
with
have been a great strain. That would have been a great one. It would have improved everybody's life.
The Jar Jar
Amazing.
strain. My God, that kind of sounds like a weed pot variant, you know, like marijuana variant. The Jar Jar Binks.
dear.
The Jar Jar blunt.
So the Jar Jar
Okay,
Blunt-
that's hilarious.
That's pretty good. I like it.
They always have weird names. You go in there and
You
you're
also
like,
might
yeah,
have named the episode.
Yes.
Jar Jar blunts. I hope that's a thing, a real thing
there
somewhere.
might be. You go there, you're like, yes, I'm having some very serious pain. And they're like, well, we have the Star Call Future Space Machine. We have the Jar Jar Blunt. You know, what
Give
kind
me
of
the
thing you
2
look
hits of the Jar Jar.
Me start feeling very good, sir.
Oh dear God, hilarious. Should we talk about video games in 2020?
think
Yeah.
I think we should.
I did make a list. I have a list of 9 games.
9.
Oh, we said
Whoa.
we would pick like what did we say? Top 5?
This is not
Top
a 3-hour
3.
episode.
Top 3?
Well, at least you got some
I
banked
was-
ones.
Yeah, what I was trying to
No, that's
do
good.
was predict what I thought everybody else's favorite games were,
I'm very predictable. Understand?
so that I think you're the only person I think I got right, but we'll see at the end.
Oh, did you pick? Oh, is this a Briar picks what we picked? I like those
because I
things.
could
Those are
not
my
figure out
Right,
Eric's
bingo.
at all, and I think I only got 2 for Tefty. But anyway, so
I want to
I'm-
know. I want to hear.
I'm hoping that I've got 3 games that none of you guys have picked that I'm
Okay.
able to put on. there.
Okay.
But we'll see.
okay.
We kind of agreed that if there's any repeats on our list, we'd be able to just all talk about that game.
Yeah.
And then, you
Yeah.
know, that way we don't bring up the same game 3
All right.
times.
So what I did, I have my like a top 2 that are going to be obvious. I think that are definitely going to be echoed around, and then I have the third one. I decided to split into an indie tier. So I picked 2 of my favorite indie games this year.
Oh, okay.
For my
I think
top
that's
three.
fair.
Okay.
I think
Yeah.
that's fair.
So
So
That's
you got a
cool.
top 4.
ish, top 4-ish. You know.
Ish.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Who wants to go first?
I'm going to say it because I know that we're all going to say it. So I'm just going to I'm going to start at the top of the pile. Wait. Are we starting at the top of the pile or are we starting at the bottom of the pile? No, or they're all good, but
I think it's arbitrary to pick between like top 3 games. Like, which one is the best out of these top 3 games that we all
Yeah,
super
right.
enjoyed?
or
Yeah.
then I feel like we might as well kick off the show and talk about Ghost of Tsushima, right?
I think
That's
that's
good.
wise.
I mean,
Yeah.
come on, right?
Let's just say it. Let's stop pretending.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it's one of 2 games this year that everybody on the show absolutely loved.
Mm-hmm.
Love.
I know,
Loved,
Watts,
loved,
you
yeah.
loved the story, right?
I did. Yeah. I really, really enjoyed the whole story. Side quests I thought were really good. I think the way that they did open world was really cool because yes, it was an open world, but it felt less open worldy. I think because of the way that they did the quests, you know, because you can see 1 out of 4, 2 out of 4. So you know how much you are going to be doing of that quest. You know exactly where to go. You know who's involved in it. So it felt a little more of a streamlined open world experience.
But also
think
with
it was-
I was going to say with the story and that whole open world experience, like they clearly had inspiration from like spaghetti western type of, you know, like that cinematic style that kicked in, you know, like what was the that
Oh, the standoffs.
yeah, well that, but like there's some history behind what they were trying to emulate on that, but like the reason why they had like the black and white mode and all that.
The Kurosawa films.
Yeah, there you go. That's what I didn't have the names, so I couldn't say it, but the
just rolls off the tongue.
It really does. The dedication towards the cinematic experience for the cutscenes, for what they wanted to tell, and then allowing you to go into photo mode and all that, but like they put like a huge amount of effort into, or it seems like it, huge amount of effort to make you feel that in the story. And I really appreciate what they did with that. Like that final scene with the uncle, like, whew. And like
I
the
still think my
visuals.
highlight gaming scene for the entire year, like gaming moment, is still. I haven't had that moment where I've got like shivers down my spine. So like from a game when I'm looking like the ghost mode for the first time, like literally when he's just like boom off of your head, suddenly everyone drops and you're just killing everyone. It's like that moment is like gonna go down like gaming history moments. It's just like that is such a cool thing.
Yeah.
Dude,
Yeah.
That's what attracted me to the campaign, like the actual single player experience, was the combat, the standoffs. Like, it was an open world, but it had like really good combat, which you usually don't get. Weirdly, you know, like that's not. So being able to explore this world, but also being excited to get off my horse and actually fight stuff because it's fun to fight stuff, kept me playing that game and kept me excited about it. I didn't get the thrill from the story that you guys did, but what really sold me on this game was 5 months later when they released the
Legends?
multiplayer mode.
Oh my goodness.
And that cemented this game's list on my personal games of the year list.
Yeah.
I had no idea it was going to be that.
It was incredible. It was like a horde mode. It was several missions, and then the raid experience was insane. It was
Really
insane.
good.
The insane thing is, I was chatting to some people the other day about like, or some of my friends the other day. We're actually talking about like, you know, for a different video about like, you know, why is it that a lot of these like new loot games keep stumbling, keep making mistakes, and it's crazy to think that Ghost of Tsushima is not even a loot game, but the free add-on they added in did so much right that these loot games keep getting wrong. Like, you know, these games that come out that are supposed to be a loot game, meanwhile they've done this as attack on mode, completely free, pay nothing for it. And they've done stuff better than these games should be doing. It's like, what the, like, how are you doing so much right? And how can you do so much right and you can't officially win Game of the Year? Like, I mean, look, right? I get. We'll speak about another game afterwards, which was still a fantastic game. But come on, that is stupid value for money. Like, you pay for that game. You've had a single player story. You've got so many side quests. If we could have not had Legends, and I still would have said today it was my Game of the Year. And then they gave you that free. I'm just like,
the margin would have been closer for sure. You'd been like, well, there's some things to weigh. But with Legends being slapped on there, not slapped, but like, you know, rolled out, and suddenly you're like, what? How could you add this other part of the game?
Good.
Did you see the 4 free? I mean, it's just a fun little thing, but you see the 4 free armor sets they gave the other day for like the Sony theme ones. That was so cool. It's like, I mean, it's just a tiny thing, just like jump in and play a mission, and then you get it. All right, cool, you know. But still, like the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, it's an outstanding package. Like, value for money is one thing, but it's just that they do everything that they do is so entertaining in and of itself. Like, it's got a really cool open world to explore, and it's really kind of vivid and vibrant, and it looks completely unique, you know, compared to other open worlds. It's got a story, it's got great combat, it's got multiplayer, and it's got different kinds of multiplayer in that there's a full-on raid that, like, if you're a Destiny fan, you should definitely get this game and try it out, because you're gonna find a lot to like in the Legends update. It's got story modes, it's got its own story for Legends mode. It's got those horde modes in Legend mode. Like, it's just, there's not one part of that game that I can point to and say, oh, that's the weak point right there. No, it's all good. It's like
all
they
so good.
just really made a really strong game.
Yeah,
and
a really
even
strong
just
game.
The way that they did the open world with the wind instead of markers and a map, with how beautiful they made that game and how cinematic it was throughout the entire open world, which I don't know how they managed to do that, is make an open world experience cinematic. But you never had to pull up a map and see where you're going. You could just follow the wind, which was really made you be able
Yeah.
to appreciate and enjoy the world more than just checking a map constantly.
And it did that good thing as well in the open world, which I feel like a few games have done this. You know, Breath of the Wild did it for me, Tsushima did it, and kind of to a degree recently, Valhalla also pulled it off as well, where they have, you know, I've played a lot of open world games where the open world is impressive, but like it's almost like the selling point is like, oh, we've got a massive open world, but it's kind of a massive empty open world. Whereas this one is like, you know, every single time, like if I can't do a main mission because I'm constantly distracted, I'm like, I want to go and look at that thing in the corner. Like I love those kind of open worlds. And then this one did a fantastic job with that, with the foxes and the birds and everything like that. And I just really enjoyed it, because sometimes you do get to the point where you're playing open world games and you get a little bit fatigued and you're just like, oh, I just need to trek for 20 minutes just to get to point B. Whereas with this, you never got that. Like it was always an adventure.
There's always stuff to do. Yeah.
I got there. I was pretty much like just main pathing this game, probably from halfway in throughout.
Okay.
Like I kind of like the story. I wasn't in love with the story. I think,
Fair enough.
you know, it just didn't hit for me, and that's fine. You know, not every story is going to hit for every person. But like I did really enjoy the combat though, and that was enough for me to keep going. I kind of constantly wanted to see like what were the enemies going to be like. What did they introduce in the next area? How are my abilities going to improve? So the story didn't keep me going as much as the combat did. And I also did want to see like what was the next area going to look like, because each biome of that game was really unique in a way that, you know, you really want to see it. And then the secrets they hit around the world with the temples and the
temples,
you know, all that kind of stuff was really fun. The temples really reminded me of like Assassin's Creed or something like that, where you got to kind of figure out like environmental puzzles in a way that I found to be really fun.
And the duels, you know, like some of them
duels
were
were great.
supernatural.
That's what I was about to say. Like that part of the story where you were fighting all of the hat bros. Those duels were insane because they all had their own arena, and it was all of them looked different. And those were just such beautiful places to fight, and the duels are so fun. That was a highlight for me.
I wish there were more duels, to be honest. I liked them so much. I wish they had done more of them.
I like that they put the duel in the raid.
Yeah,
that was amazing. Yeah,
they managed a way to fit it in there.
They did a really amazing thing of dancing between keeping it like realistic, but also having an element of supernaturalness in the game. Obviously, Legends fully embraced the supernatural side, and I was saying, like, as I was playing the main campaign, I was thinking, man, it would be amazing if they had like a zombie DLC, kind of like Red Dead, where suddenly it's all supernatural stuff, and they kind of basically just made a completely different mode for that with Legends. But I thought it was incredible how they were able to dance between keeping the element of, is this actually a ghost, or is this a supernatural human being, or is it just stories of people like seeing things that aren't really real, but their mind is leading them to certain conclusions. And I thought they did an incredible job throughout the whole thing of like maintaining that mystery. You know, it was very intentional, right? Like the environment and like the stories that were being told, and your legend of being the ghost was getting more and more like over the top, you know? And it was so cool to witness that happen as I played the game. I think overall, the amount of love that was put into that, you know, for like all the details of the game, I think is what makes it basically my game of the year for 2020, because of just every piece that was put in the game. I could sense had like intention and purpose, and very few of it was like, oh, well, we just put this in there because, you know, development.
I think I knew this game was going to be one of my favorite games ever from the very beginning of the game, where you get on your horse and you're riding through the field, and it said like that the music is playing. That was I got goosebumps from that opening. That opening was phenomenal. You just saw all of like your friends and family have just perished from this invasion, and you're getting on your horse. So it's already kind of emotional from the beginning. It's not a nice place to be. And then you're just riding across this field, and then it switches from this super cinematic thing to you controlling your horse, and you're in the world. From that, I was like, oh my God, what an opening. That was crazy.
Yeah. I got goosebumps from 3 things in that game that are vivid to me. And that was the suddenly becoming the ghost and having that ability, like you were saying, Eric's. Like that was, you had gone through so much samurai like fantasy, and then suddenly they hit you with they become the actual ghost mode, and
Yes.
all the enemies are literally they're actually freaking out, saying, "Oh my god, you're a demon. This is frightening me."
Yeah, that was a cool mode.
That was incredible. And the screen with like everything goes red and like slow mo, but then speeds up.
That happens at the same time for everybody, right? And like that one invasion of that town, which is like, to me, the best part of that game. It's like the best moment of that game.
Yes.
Yeah, it signifies you going away from honor and becoming something new to have to defeat the enemy. And then, so I got goosebumps from that. I got goosebumps from when you decapitated I think it was the general in front of your uncle.
Yes.
And
you drop down, you blow the people,
yeah.
and they go.
Yeah, and then he like looked physically ill from what you had become.
Yeah.
And it was like, whoa, this is incredible. And then obviously the end where I was like,
and moving into chapter 3. Oh my god, my heart breaking.
I forgot. Oh my god.
Oh my god, that moment. It was slow too.
Me.
It wasn't a fast thing that happened.
No,
it
was not
slow,
fast.
painful. The music. Oh my god, that was.
Oh, that
I want slow walking
so
to be
much.
banned from video games forever.
Yes, please do.
It is so annoying.
Take it out. I hate slow walking. Every game.
God, so sad.
So yeah.
I think we should move on. We got a lot of games to talk about.
We do.
What's a game that you think should be recognized as one of the best of the year?
Neo 2. Neo 2, I have so many hours in that game. So if people don't know what Neo 2 is, Neo 2 is a game that is like a Souls-like game. But the way that it differs is that it is really based on making a build. Like it's super based on that. And I know in Dark Souls you can make builds, but this is like the amount of builds you can make are insane. All of the armor pieces have stats on it. You can keep farming to get more stats on your armor. You can keep farming to get higher level gear. So there's white, yellow, blue, purple, green, orange. So the orange is from the second DLC. So you're constantly getting higher and higher level, and you're constantly making new builds. And currently there are 11 weapons in Neo 2. And that ranges everywhere from scythes and swords to hands and staffs that split into like a whip. It's the combat in that game is just so freaking good. And I think what they really nailed it where other games haven't is the replayability of that game. So when you finish your initial playthrough, you'll unlock what most people would see as New Game Plus, but it's called like Dream of the Samurai. Then you get Dream of the Strong, Dream of the Demon, Dream of the Wise, and it keeps going up and up and up in difficulty. And as you play throughout all of those difficulties, there's new loot to get. So you may have made your perfect build going through the game. You may have farmed, but now there's a whole new armor set. Maybe that set bonus is better for the build that you've been doing. So now you want to refarm it. Or there's a higher level of gear. So you want to move on from purple gear to green gear, from green gear to orange gear. So you're playing essentially the same stuff over again, although the stages definitely do change because there's different enemies in there. There's different placements of stuff. But you're playing essentially the same thing.
Each New Game Plus? Do they change the variety?
It will change. There'll be, I call it Spooky Town, where everyone's demonic. You go into Spooky Town. So Spooky Town will be all throughout the area, but in like Dream of the Demon, it will be in a completely different spot. So now you have to approach that very differently. And there's different enemies there. And then there's like a really strong demon there. And you have to figure out how to fight that guy. So you're playing the same stuff, but it's very, very different. And I might be creating the same build, but I can make it better. Or then I want to switch to a different weapon and then I have to build a whole new build, and making a build can take a long time.
Yeah.
So there's just so much that the game does to keep you wanting to keep playing. They've really nailed the feeling of, I want to keep grinding for this thing. There's always something to grind for.
I got some really good news for you, Watts.
What?
Neo 1 and Neo 2 are getting a remastered version coming in 2021, coming to PS5 and PC.
They are, yes.
Which is
I'm excited
really
for
cool.
PC players to be able to get to experience Neo 2 because Neo 1 was good, but I think Neo 2 had a significant improvement in their level design. And then also you can create a character in Neo 2. So I know a lot of people are like, well, that's why a lot of people didn't like Sekiro actually, because they wanted to create a character and make the character their own, whereas Sekiro you played as a person. So Neo 2, you can, the character creation is one of the best character creations ever. It's so good. And you can make your own character. You can really live out that fantasy. So it's the game that keeps giving.
I might have to revisit it when it comes out for the PS5 update. My I ended up like playing it with English subtitles and Japanese voice, and I didn't get as connected to the story because of that.
Mm-hmm.
Because as a streamer, you're going back and forth looking at chat, and so you're not like, sometimes it could be, for me anyways, it could be difficult to read subtitles and look at chat and connect the dots of what's happening. But like
is there an option to have like English voiceover?
There is. They're not very good in Neo 2. But I would have been able to like identify with the story a bit more and stick with it. But like the thing that I didn't like, just to throw a little difference in there, was I felt like you saw a lot of the same enemies as you progressed through the main story, and then they were just harder. And so you'd gain levels, but then you'd see the same enemies with some of the same movesets being able to just still kill you instantly because they got harder as you were going through. And that kind of killed some of the vibe for me. It definitely was an improvement from Neo 1 to Neo 2. Like completely, like there was huge amounts of improvements with that.
If I was going to play Neo 2, should I play Neo 1 first or just jump into Neo 2?
So Neo 1 it's a good game, but I think Neo 2 is quite a drastic improvement. And for me, just the player fantasy of being this half demon and really being able to create that character just did it for me. I was all about that. So if in terms of story, so Neo 2 is like a prequel and also a sequel to Neo 1. It goes through the entire timeline of before Neo 1 happened and then after Neo 1 happened. So it's a full scope. So for the beginning of the game, all the way up until basically the end of the game, you won't need to worry about knowing what happened in Neo 1 at all.
Okay.
Maybe what you'd want to do is just watch cutscenes of Neo 1 so you just know about the end part. But I really think you can just jump into Neo 2 and be very happy with it, because I've adored that game.
Like, I like everything about this game. I just haven't played it yet.
It's so good. And
I like the way it looks. I like the fact that it's got like that Demon Souls kind of play to it.
If you don't,
it looks cool.
If you don't spec into particular like strengths of a build, you can find yourself struggling with a lot of the enemies or bosses.
Yeah, can you respec?
The game, can you respec? Yes, you can. Yeah, you can respec. The game is definitely more focused on making a build, and you don't need to make a build for a big portion of the game, but you definitely want to be upgrading all of your skills. You don't want to leave any skills unupgraded. You want to make sure that you're always checking your armor and your weapons and putting on your best stuff. And then towards the end, you want to be speccing into something a bit more specific. But yeah, the game's all about that. Build crafting and getting more loot and all of that. It's
the combat's very satisfying.
On a scale of Jedi Fallen Order being a 0 and Sekiro being a 10 on the difficulty scale, where would you put this?
It depends on the build, right?
Yeah.
Probably.
Like if you have a crappy build,
I only play some of it, but I mean, I personally found Neo to be more challenging than Sekiro, but I feel like it also depends. Like everyone goes into these games like differently. Some people will be like, "Oh, I found Dark Souls 3 really hard," versus like Bloodborne. I feel like it kind of depends on your playstyle. I definitely got completely obliterated in Neo 2 quite a bit, but not even just the bosses. Some of them just like the
take me out, coach. Bring in a left-hander. I'll watch Watts' gameplay instead.
No.
Right. The bosses.
Not at all. So I wouldn't say. I would say that the hardest bosses you will find in Neo 2 for the most part will be at the beginning, when you're not fully understanding the combat system. You don't fully know what the hell you're doing or taking advantage of all of the things at your disposal, and you have no build at all. But as you start understanding the systems. It's like what AJ said in chat. It starts as a 10 and then gets lower as you understand the systems. So now I can go, I'm like 120 levels under in Dream of the Demon, and I can go and kick everyone's ass because I have a build. So it's just about understanding the systems, and then it's really not super hard.
Yeah. A lot of the difficulty comes in like these really small windows that like can be difficult to detect when you're in the middle of a boss fight, and it can feel kind of cheap and cheesy at times. And then you realize you can apply some sort of thing like a slowing effect, and then it's like, oh, this is a lot easier now.
Also, there's so you can, because you are a half demon, you can use demon abilities. So you can eventually choose 3 demon abilities that you can use, and you really need to make sure that you're understanding that as well, because using those makes the game significantly easier by using all of the demon abilities too. So yeah, it's definitely a case of at the beginning when you have no idea what you're doing and you don't have access to nearly as many things, you will find things difficult. But as you learn the systems and figure out what you want to use, and you're like, oh, I have 3 abilities, and then I have 3 different stances that I can use for my weapon, and I can use another weapon if I want to, and you can use magic and all of that stuff, then it gets easier. But it's very satisfying combat. It's very satisfying.
Tefty, what's one of your favorite games this year?
All right, I'm gonna throw out the one that I'm sure is on everyone else's list.
Okay.
Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Yeah.
This game was so damn good.
It was so good, right?
I don't think I've been happier than being Cloud in a dress dancing on a stage. That was one of my happiest moments in all of video games.
That was definitely my moment of the year. Like the best moment I had video gaming this year was sitting on the couch with my wife next to me, both staring at the screen in wonderful shock at what we were seeing. It was amazing. That game blew away expectations for me. I am not a fan of Final Fantasy VII, the original game. I don't really like it that much at all. Final Fantasy VII Remake, the combat is fun. They redid the characters in a way that I feel I can connect with them a lot more than I could in the original game.
They fleshed them out.
Yeah, I hated Cloud. Like that's one of the reasons I never dug Final Fantasy VII is I really felt like he was an obnoxious asshole, and I didn't want to play him. I didn't feel any sympathy toward him. I didn't want to be anywhere near any part of that. In 7 Remake, even though he still kind of sighs a lot and he's still very, I don't know, he's a little bit of an asshole. Like you start to see the character progression much earlier in this game than you did in the original, and that really hooks you. And then it's also got this joy to it. Like even though the story is kind of oppressive and dark, there's this sparkle to everybody in the story. All the main characters have a hopefulness to them that really kind of compels you to keep playing and to really fall in love with the characters. And I really enjoyed that. The combat was fun. The graphics were mostly pretty good. It was mostly pretty good looking. And
apart from the skyboxes,
the skyboxes. I forgot about that. Yeah. Everything else, I was like, man, that game was so gorgeous. Yeah, but you're right. You look at a skybox or two and be like, oh.
I remember the time when I climbed the tower and I was like, oh, this is going to make for a great screenshot. I'm going to take. I stood there. I was like, oh, never mind.
Never mind.
Yeah, that.
You're right. Then the combat. Go.
I was going to say that I was very surprised at how much I enjoyed the remake, because I enjoyed 7, but it didn't like leave a mark in the same way that this did. And I think it's because like all those, again, they flesh out the characters for sure. That's one big part of it, but also the like just the little moments that they could convey with the facial animations and like just like the scenes that they were able to show with modern technology versus on the original PlayStation it cemented so much more emotion in the story for me. And normally I'm like, yeah, it's some cheesy things. I'm like, okay, it's Final Fantasy, whatever. But like, I just ended up falling in love with everything about the game.
Yeah, same.
You know, that like, normally I would have just been like, it's got some weirdness, but it's a fun game. But it just became like, man, I love this game. I love everything they put in this game. It's awesome.
It was really cool, yeah. And I think combat is like one of the was a thing that shone for me, because that's part of the reason I never went back to play the original one, because obviously I missed it when it first came out. Because I'm just apart from Pokemon, I'm not really a turn-based person. I just don't I just don't get on with turn-based combat. I know some people love it, but for me, I just don't like it at all. And I just find it really hard to sort of like connecting. Like I've always been a person where I'm like, if I see an attack coming, I want to physically be able to dodge it. I don't want to be like, I forgot to press defend, so I'm going to take this hit. Like that to me is just stupid. So I love the combat. Like, it was super cool. And I hope that it ends up becoming like a benchmark for future Final Fantasy titles. I mean, I know obviously you're looking at
I hope
16. So. Yeah, I mean, I know obviously looking at 16, like they've probably got a different stance on it because they've got the DMC guy behind it. But regardless, like the real-time aspect was super cool. Being able to switch between the team, like, kind of staying true to the whole sort of, somewhat turn-based in the real-time way it worked. It was really clever. I liked it. And it also to that point where in these kind of games, especially like JRPGs, there'll always be a point where like I start to get slightly bored of grinding. So I'll start to actively try to avoid fights, and then you kind of get to that weird position where I've avoided too many fights. I get to a boss fight, I'm like, oh, now I'm under-leveled. Oh, crap. Whereas this one, because I enjoyed combat so much, I was like, yep, it's fine. Just dive into it, get it done, roll through. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was something I really appreciated, is that it was not the original combat, but they stayed true to enough of the original combat to where if you were a fan of older Final Fantasies, I think you could still definitely really enjoy this combat. But if you weren't a fan of it, I think you could enjoy it too. So they did a really good job of kind of merging the two and bringing it up to, I guess, what a lot of people would want to play these days.
Yeah, the difference between Final Fantasy 15, excuse me, Final Fantasy 15 and then Final Fantasy 7 Remake, like, even though there's a lot of similarities, but it just felt so much more refined in Final Fantasy 7.
Yeah, definitely.
Like 15 kind of felt fatiguing after a while. I mean, it definitely felt fatiguing after a while to me anyways. And then 7, I just was like, this is great. I want to keep playing all these different characters.
Yeah. Go ahead, Watts.
No, I was just gonna say that and going through knowing the original story of 7 and playing through it and how they managed to tell ultimately a different story.
Yeah.
With still having the same story. It was really cool the way that they did that. Like anytime the shadows appeared, that was where it was kind of messing with the original timeline, because the shadows are what we assume is trying to keep you on the path of the original story, and you're constantly fighting against that. So the way they did that was really good as well. I enjoyed that.
Cool.
I guess I'll go next.
Yeah.
One of my games is Star Wars Squadrons.
Okay.
I know it's not a game that a lot of people love this year, but for me, it's absolutely one of the pinnacle gaming experiences of my life. Being a huge Star Wars fan and playing that game in VR, I was 100% convinced that I was flying an X-wing in space in the best way. It reminds me of gaming kind of before competitive gaming became a thing, when you used to play games just to be immersed in like a world or a story. When I sit down, I put the flight stick on my desk and the HOTAS on my desk, and I put the VR goggles in, and I am looking around throughout the cockpit of a X-wing or a TIE fighter or whatever, and it's like a childhood dream come true. Like, it really feels that good. It is an absolute amazing experience that I don't really, unfortunately, think comes through playing on a TV or a monitor, unfortunately. It very much feels like, another space flight game, like another one of those. But once you do have that VR headset on, and once you are sitting in the cockpit, it's so convincing. It's so much fun. The multiplayer is really good. The single player story is, I would say, mediocre, but it's all overshadowed by just how convincing it is to be sitting inside of an X-wing. As a Star Wars fan, it's an experience that cannot be missed.
Nice.
Yeah, I saw just like gameplay of it, and I was like, man, this must be so cool in VR, because you just see the ships flying past you, and you're like flying through really tiny areas, and it looks phenomenal. So I can only imagine what it's like in VR.
There's a moment where you're flying next to one of those big Star Destroyers, like those big triangle shaped ships, and you're like, it's amazing how big this is. Like, it just feels massive. Like the scale of space in like these huge battles, it's overwhelming, and the ships feel so easy to control and so maneuverable. Like it's just a fun thing to control those starships, and do dogfights with the and to attack the big capital ships. It's just so fun. I hope they continue to make more of these. Like, I hope it's not a one and done kind of thing. Yeah,
because I feel like it's definitely had like a bit more of a. I mean, obviously Star Wars is huge, but I feel like in terms of like pickup for the game, it was definitely slightly more niche because it was definitely one of those sort of things where, like, if you're a Star Wars fan, you'll 100% love it. And I wish I got to experience it in VR because I played it. I'll admit, like, I'm more of a casual Star Wars fan, so I wouldn't really necessarily say that it was like a big pinnacle thing. I'd say I'm a true Star Wars fan for that reason. But I played it only through just regular screen and stuff, and I enjoyed it to a degree, but I also am not really one of those people that's like, I'm really bad at flying games. So the game was definitely not for me. So I do feel like it's one of those ones where it might not have like mass appeal or mass pickup, but yeah, definitely. I mean, to that respect, and also speaking to like the developers about it, it's like, yeah, if you're a Star Wars fan, if you like flying games, if you like VR, like 100% it'll tick all those boxes. Outside of that, it might be a bit of a hard sell, but yeah.
Yeah. I would agree with that. And if you're a fan of all three of those things, it really is like a magnificent release. And it's only $40. It's like a cheap release too, which is
nice.
Yeah. I think it's probably cheaper now, right? That it's been out for a few months.
So
maybe.
I have yet to get a VR system, Briar.
Yeah.
Maybe in 2021 I'm going to change that. But
yeah,
this game would be the game for me to get a VR headset. Like, I know there's other games, obviously,
so worth it.
But
yeah.
Like No Man's Sky, VR.
No Man's Sky is another amazing experience. Being able to walk up to your ship in VR, hop in, and then fly to outer space without like a cut break anywhere in there is a magical goddamn experience. It is really good. And then there's other Star Wars experiences too. Like Vader Immortal is really cool. You actually use a lightsaber and fight Darth Vader. Like,
that's pretty cool.
And he's like 8 foot tall and standing in front of you. And it's like this is actually truly feels kind of like I'm intimidated by this virtual character.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's amazing. They're doing some cool stuff in VR.
What would you recommend coming into 2021 as the VR headset to get?
The Steam one. I can't remember the name of it. The
$1,000 one?
Yeah. That's the one to get. The Oculus has a new Rift 2. But unfortunately, they fucked it up, and you have to use a Facebook account to like log into it, and all sorts of really shitty stuff. So if they get rid of that stuff, if they get rid of that Facebook like tie-in stuff, which they might do because they're getting a lot of pushback on it, that's a really compelling thing because it's like $300. It's wireless, like so you can play it on your back porch or in your backyard where you have a little more room to play.
Is that
it's all battery powered?
Is that the one that's like standalone?
Yeah.
So
they have the second version of that now.
Wow.
Which is a little more powerful. The screen is a little bit better, and it's a really compelling product, except for that Facebook stuff.
So with the Steam one, what do you get that's better with the Steam one for the $1,000?
You get better graphics, a better screen. The screen has less of that screen door effect.
Okay.
Screen door effect is, imagine just like putting your face right next to the LCD display in front of you, and you're going to see the individual pixels.
Little pixels, yeah.
Yeah, so it gets rid of much of that, not all of it. It's got a higher refresh rate on the screen as well, which can help with motion sickness and just looks better. It also has new controllers that can sense your fingers, so you can actually like grab stuff. But it's got a tether that goes to your computer. So
right, you need a computer set up for it.
Yeah,
and you need a pretty beefy card too, right, to run? Would you say?
Yeah. I mean, your 3070 is more than capable.
Yeah, but like if you're rocking a 1060, probably stay away from the $1,000.
I don't know how many people are in the market for a $1,000 VR setup who don't have already like a $1,000 graphics card.
Maybe they just want the VR, right?
I would prioritize the graphics card personally.
If they're thinking graphics card and the VR setup, all adds up.
Like if you're looking for like a discount VR setup, I think the PlayStation VR is actually still really good. If you can buy one used at this point, I think it'd be in really good shape. And the Oculus Rift 2, if you could get past that Facebook stuff, I never played the Rift 2, but I did play the Rift 1, and it was awesome. My kids really liked it. I really liked it. Being able to just not have to set up, the computer, plug everything in, because there's like multiple USBs and you got to plug in DisplayPort, and like all that stuff could be a deterrent to actually just starting the game. This is like you literally just unplug it from the charger, put it on your head, and go. You know,
yeah,
which is nice. It's compelling.
Very nice. Yeah.
Who's next? I think Eric's, right? Yeah.
So I'm going to throw in this one. Admittedly, I still haven't completed it yet, but I do want to throw Assassin's Creed Valhalla in there because that is also gone down as a big game for me this year. One that I went into it knowing that there would be aspects that I was already super excited for because I like the Assassin's Creed series, even though like in more recent years I have fallen off and haven't necessarily completed all of them. Like back in the day, it used to be the series I just went through nonstop. But obviously, the Viking angle was something that I'm always super interested in.
Your Nordic history.
Having now played it. Yeah, exactly, right. But then, but having played it, obviously, I've played through. I'm probably about 2/3 the way through now, so I've still got a good 20-30 hours to go or something give or take.
How many hours is 2/3? 60 hours?
I think about 50-ish, something like that. Yeah, 50, 40, 45, 50, something like that. Because I'm golden lining it, so I reckon I can do it in about 60, 70, something like that. So
the golden line is that long, Jesus.
Yeah.
That's a big game.
It's well, but having said that, the one thing I would say is I really enjoyed everything about it. It did not quite to the same degree that Tsushima or Breath of the Wild did, but it still had a fantastic open world in that there were lots and lots of things that I always wanted to discover. The whole having the gold dots and the blue dots and the white dots on the map meant that anytime you would just you'd be going somewhere, there'd be something you could go and investigate. And generally speaking, those dots on the map were never boring rubbish things. They would always be little side quests you could do, or little things that were quite interesting. Sometimes they'd be really interesting things. So it still did that thing where you can be exploring the map and you've got a ton of different things to go and keep you busy. But if you do suddenly want to just golden line it and do just want to follow the story, you can do that in a really good way. They balanced it very well because in the two previous ones, Origins and Odyssey, there would come parts where you'd almost need to grind for a little bit because you're this next region of the map is a little bit too high level. This one is really well paced, to the point where every single time you finish an area, you're already in the right level bracket to be moving forward. So you can very organically just go through. Obviously all the mechanics stuff, it has the typical Ubisoft jank you'd expect. There's some buggy bits here and there and stuff, but generally speaking, I enjoyed the kind of aggression they had added to the combat, the Viking feel to it, raiding parties with your friends and stuff, which is really cool because in Assassin's Creed, short of Brotherhood, where you would call your boys in, you're used to doing everything solo. But in Valhalla, there's a lot of team-based stuff you can do, which is cool. Throwing in obviously all the mystical stuff with going to what's it called? I forgot the word. How can I forget the words? The
Asgard.
Asgard, that's it. Asgard and Jotunheim, that's it. Yeah, those places was really cool. So I just loved everything about it. I thought it was really cool. I'm currently working through the last little bit on my holidays now, so I'll have it finished by the new year. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. Definitely one of my highlights this year.
This is a game that I've been plugging away at, but unfortunately, it's just one of those. It's that time of year where there's just it's a huge major game release every day, and it's just it's been hard for me to kind of get focused on it, and knowing that it's going to be a long experience like it was for Origins or like it was for Odyssey just means that I know that I'm going to be playing this all year. It's going to be one of those games I pluck away at all year. But the story just has not been grabbing me at the beginning. I really want to know what's going on in the, because the last two Assassin's Creed games have kind of been a reboot for the series. Not necessarily a reboot, but kind of a new angle where, all the kind of current time stuff has got a really interesting thing going on, and the end of the last game was kind of a cliffhanger, so I really want to get into that stuff. So I'm hoping that as I move through the story, it's going to hook me a little bit more. Maybe it's just I just got to get kind of warm up to the characters a little bit more.
Yeah, it's possible. I think from what I've played so far, I wouldn't necessarily. I feel for me, part of the hook maybe was also because like I like a lot of that sort of Viking culture stuff, and I've obviously watched I watched Vikings, watched Last Kingdom. There's like a lot of characters.
You
and
look
names
like
and
a
location.
Viking, also.
I'm a Viking.
You could have come out of Central Casting for that Viking show.
I mean, you know, if they want to phone me up, I'm sitting by my phone. But I think it helped with me as well because there were so many. It's probably the first time where they've, you know, because they've always like used elements of history, but like a lot of the time in Assassin's Creed, I'm like, I don't know anything about like, you know, Greek and ancient Greek history, like Roman history, and apart from like the obvious names and stuff. Whereas this one, there's so many characters and like names that I recognize, locations I recognize. So I felt so much more invested. So I wonder for me whether it's like it might not be the story in and of itself has hooked me, but it might just be more like I'm like, oh, I know that character, I know this place. So that's kind of what brought me in. So I don't know whether like, you know, if you don't have that, whether it'll be the same experience, but yeah,
Confirmed.
It could be burnout
Eric's
for me
is
too.
biased.
I have played probably 200 hours of Assassin's Creed over the last 3 years.
fair.
True.
I'm looking forward to play that
Definitely
game, but it's one of those things where I'm nervous to start a game like that and not be ready for the journey, because I know that if I start it, play 10 hours in, and then something else comes up, then my chances of going back and getting back into it start like exponentially decreasing.
They do.
Yeah.
They did just recently put in a live event in that game, like a Christmas event into that game.
Oh yeah, I forgot to go back for that. Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty interesting. But they also put an XP booster back into it, which kind of disappointed me.
Yeah.
It is Ubisoft.
Yeah. And it comes with that Ubisoft baggage this year more than most, I think.
Yeah.
As people are so pissed off about Cyberpunk, I still remain a little pissed off at Ubisoft.
Yeah. It's fair. It's fair.
Yeah.
What?
I'm gonna bring up a game called Spiritfarer, which is on PC and Nintendo Switch, and it's made by Thunder Lotus Games. And it's a game that, so the way that they always describe it is that it's a cozy management game about death, which it sums it up. So basically what happens is you have your ship and you're like kind of the new, not Grim Reaper, but you help people.
You're like Cerberus, right?
Yeah.
Karen.
Karen. Yes,
Yeah.
we're Karens.
Yeah, totally a Karen.
Totally Karen. But you basically, your job is to take people who are on kind of their end journey to tie up all the loose ends before they pass on and go to the afterlife. And so you are in charge of this ship, and your ship can have like a kitchen in it. It starts with like a kitchen and a bedroom and really simple stuff, but then you end up having like a windmill. You can have places to make metal and fabric, and you can have cows and chickens, and you can make milk and all this kind of stuff, and you could farm. So it's got all the kind of things that you would expect from a management game with farming and creating stuff. But you also are having these really interesting experiences with characters that you come into contact with, who have things that they need to do before they pass on and end up going to the afterlife. So it's very sad. I cried. There was one character that made me cry so much when I said goodbye to her. Oh, that one was difficult. But it's also kind of helps you come to terms with death as well in this is really strange way, because yes, you're saying goodbye and it's very sad, but you've also gotten to know these characters and know their life, and now you know that they've done everything they needed to do and they're ready to pass on because it's just a part of life. So I found that game to just be, it's really addicting. First of all, they do so good with the management parts of that game, and the stories were really, really beautiful. I found that I wanted to keep playing, not just because I was addicted to just sailing around this massive map in my boat and leveling my boat up and getting new things and getting more and more stuff on this ship, but because I wanted to see what ended up with the characters, what their stories were. And it's got a lot of commentary on like Alzheimer's and all sorts of things. So that game is great. It's really good. And the art and music, it's all hand drawn. It's all hand animated. It's beautiful.
I just checked while you were talking because I was almost sure that it was available on Game Pass. It is available on Game Pass.
It is available on Game Pass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
It's a really good game. They did a lot of things really well with the management and with the storytelling and with the animation. It's all so good, and you can just drive around this massive map. And there's also like little events that can happen along the map. So there can be like a monster that shows up and you have to help them. You're not ever really harming anything. You're kind of helping them to get all of this stuff off of them, and you're freeing them from this situation that they're in. And you have those events as you're sailing around, and the whole map will go dark and the music changes and maybe the wind changes, and you have those events as well as you're driving around. But yeah, the map is pretty big, and there's many different places. There's like snow, and you have to upgrade your ship to be able to get through the ice. And then there's places where it's raining all the time, and it's really well done.
Nice.
Also, it's very good looking game.
It's a very good looking game. It's beautiful.
It really is.
Yeah, what was the name of the game again?
The game is Spiritfarer.
Spiritfarer. What did you play it on?
Yeah. I played it on Switch.
Nice.
It's
The
a perfect
definitive
Switch
platform.
game. Oh my god, it's a perfect Switch game.
The true gamers platform.
True gamers platform.
It's true.
I think it's my turn now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What you got?
All right. So I picked 2 on the indie tier. I'm gonna pick the first one I completed all the way through. The other one I haven't completed all the way through, but it's definitely there. And this might be on Briar's list actually. This game that I did complete all the way through. Ori and the Will of the Wisps.
Oh god, that game is so good.
Okay.
Beautiful, gorgeous game with a huge emotional impact if you play all the way through. It's just like a masterfully crafted platformer, with the exception of one level. I loved everything except for one level on it, and Briar probably knows what it is. But like, it's just that game is so gorgeous. The sound design and like the spirit of the forest is in the game. It's just incredible.
Ori
If you get
so good.
If you get a Series X, it should be one of the first things you download because it runs at 4K 60 or 4K 120 hertz.
Woo.
And it's kind of astounding looking. Like it really,
it's a gorgeous game.
It's a gorgeous game anyway, but at 4K 120, man, it's next level.
On an
It's
OLED.
actually something that me and Tomo are planning on doing over the holiday break, is to play that together, because we did that with Ori, the first Ori,
Blind
where
Forest.
we kind of just like passed the controller back and forth and watched each other play as well. And we're going to do that because now we of course have the Series X in the living room. We got a new TV and new sound system. So it's the perfect time to experience Will of the Wisp again in this beautiful. Can't wait.
Was I on the new TV yesterday
Yes, you were.
when I was in your living room?
Yes, you were, Brian. Yes, you were. That was a good day.
Also,
that game is outstanding. I'm sorry, I want to talk about Ori just a little bit more.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
It is so good. If you played Ori in the Blind Forest and you thought it was okay, Ori and the Will of the Wisps is really a step above that game. The combat is so much better and so much more engaging. Like, you have this kind of sword thing now, which really opens up. It not only opens up the combat, but it also allows you some freedom of movement when you're in combat. So it's not just like a platforming game with light combat. It's turned into a game that has really good platforming and really good combat with that amazing world and design that was so good in the first one. Like, it really is. It's a big jump over the first game,
and
in
the
my opinion.
puzzle solving too. The puzzle solving is awesome. Like, it has like that Metroidvania type of thing that's going on, where like you unlock this part and you can access this area, and then you get this new ability that allows you to jump a little bit further, and so now you can access this part of the world. Oh, there's like this little secret thing right here to help get more health or something like that. It's a beautifully, incredibly inspired platformer. Yeah. And the
puzzles aren't like stupid, right? It's not like it makes sense. If you think about the puzzle, you can come to a conclusion that makes sense. It's not just like moon logic, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I brute forced a few of them where people are like, that's not how you're supposed to do that. But I was like, I think I can do this. I'm going to keep doing this. Yep. Oh, got it. Nice. If you play on the hardest difficulty, there is a level towards the end that involves a certain worm, and it is stupidly difficult. Like you need to have a perfect speed run difficult if you play on the hardest setting. So fair warning on that one. I felt like the difficulty wasn't bad on the hardest setting up until that point. Then like I beat the boss and everything. I was like, yeah, hard setting's fine, but that worm speedrun was just so dumb. That was the only thing that really pissed me off about that, because the difficulty balance throughout the entire game was amazing. Like it was such an awesome experience that like I felt challenged at certain points with the bosses, but I was still able to like overcome or figure out the strategy and all that. And then that one part just made me super furious. I was like, how could you do this to this beautiful game? Put this goddamn worm in such stupid thing. Ah. Yeah. But if you play on normal difficulty, you probably won't have any problems with it.
What was your other indie game?
Hades.
Oh yeah, we have to talk about Hades.
That game. I know it was in it was in early access for a long time. So it's, it's not 100% 2020, but it officially came out in 2020. And it's one of those games that is just, again, masterfully crafted. Music, voice acting, what's the style of the game called again?
Roguelite.
Yeah, roguelite. Like the mechanics of roguelite, the way they built the story into the roguelite to make it seem like it's intentional of why you keep replaying
how they
it.
got so many voice lanes.
Yeah, right? You keep on going through it.
Every
It's like
time
you
go
get
back
more
and
and
talk to
more.
people. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's insane.
It's incredible, yeah. That game, if you have not played it yet, and you like, well, I mean, if you like
If you like video games, yeah.
If you like fun.
If you remotely like Greek mythology, if like Greek mythology kind of tickles whatever you got going on, and you like video games, this is just incredible. It's a fantastic game.
Yeah, I need to go back and like finish it. I mean, I've only kind of sunk probably like 3 or 4 hours into it, so I'm barely scratching the surface. But it already scratched that same itch that Dead Cells did to me, and I sunk so much time into Dead Cells. So I know 100% this is a game that I want to play more of. I just didn't have another time yet, so that's also on my holiday list of games to play.
Yeah, when Tefty, you brought this up on the proper show when it came out. I tried it right away. I think I'm just over roguelike games. Maybe I should come back to this next year when I have a little bit more time, because I did feel pressured when I played it to like kind of, because there's just so much stuff coming out. But
sure, you could just take your time with it though. Like, and if you just want to focus on one weapon, go ahead, focus on one weapon. Learn to do do builds with it. What's crazy is every time you play it, you can get this just different drops that happen for a particular weapon that change the way you play that weapon drastically all the way to the end. Sometimes you come up with some crazy powerful build where you're just like, I'm one-shotting everything because this perk is stacking with this perk. Oh dear God. And then you just get obliterated by one thing. You're like, oh well.
Yeah, that's where I've barely started to scratch the surface, because I haven't really, like, in all the runs that I've done so far, I haven't really started to properly assemble like a build, so to speak. I'm just like, I got this weapon, I'm kind of learning these patterns, I've got a couple of handy moves and stuff, so I'm interested to sort of see how that'll evolve later, because I think back to like when I played Dead Cells, and like, you'd have those nuts builds where you just drop a turret on the floor and everything just dies, and I'm like, this is it.
Yeah.
So
there's a few OP strats that you can start like specking into once you start understanding the possibilities a bit more, and each weapon kind of seems to have their own strengths in that regard that you might run into. Yeah, it's a great game.
Very good game. Very, very good. Very good looking game as well.
Yes,
definitely
beautiful game.
So I'm gonna rip off the Band-Aid. I'm gonna probably get a lot of negative comments for this, but Cyberpunk 2077 is definitely one of my games of the year this year. I know, like, obviously there's a huge amount of controversy about this game. The game is not nearly finished, but when push comes to shove, I am enjoying this game tremendously. I really I think the open world is one of the most gorgeous things that's ever been on a video game. Night City is just stunning in so many different ways. Like, just when driving around, when I'm being driven around, it looks amazing. And the story just keeps me playing. The side stories, they're just so well crafted, and the voice acting is so good. When you meet Pan Am, or Delta as I like to call her,
Pan Am is the best.
Like, it's so fun to like kind of go on these journeys with these characters. There's another character called Claire, who ends up like, at first you think it's just another one of those open world, like, all right, we need an excuse to do car racing in this game. but that story ends up going in a direction that you just really never see coming. And I gotta say, like, I'm just enjoying the snot out of it. Everything about the game, not everything about the game, everything about the story, everything about the characters, everything about like just being in that world is so convincing. Yeah, it's got a ton of bugs. Yeah, I mean, I played it for 3 hours on the Xbox One yesterday.
Yeah, you did.
I gotta tell you, that game, it's unbelievable how different the two experiences are. It looks like a muddy mess. There's this like fuzz to the screen on the Xbox One. Like it looks shockingly bad. Like it really does. Like it like all the colors are kind of muddy because it's rendered at such a low resolution that like the colors are all blended in to make it kind of this brown mess. Like the neon lights
It's
don't
not
look
even
like neon.
720p.
Yeah, it's not, right? I think it's somewhere in like the 400 to 500p range.
Yeah.
It's really low. Like, and we were talking yesterday, it's like you could see, like, if you look at Jackie, who's got a really well detailed model, you can see that the polygons are kind of there, but because it's rendered at so little resolution, there's no definition to his skin or to the you know, on PC you can see like the, you know, the wrinkles in his forehead and like, you know, the acne, and you could on his jacket you could see like the texture of his jacket. You don't get any of that. You get like you get like this blurry fuzzy mess, and like, you know, the frame rate drops down to nothing. It was all I could talk about was how bad it looked.
Because how can you not?
Yeah, even on the Xbox One though, I was still having fun playing the game, and that's actually what convinced me to put the game on my list. Is that even when it looked that bad, I was still enjoying myself playing the game. And, you know, despite all of the bad press it's gotten, how mad people are about the state of the release of the game, I got to be honest, and I fucking love this game.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still with you. Like, I had like a great experience with it. Like, you know, it's like, I mean, I was fortunate that I didn't have too many bugs kind of going through my experience, so I was able to have like the kind of ideal experience, so to speak. But you know, I still really enjoyed it as well. Like it's kind of like we sort of mentioned in our kind of review about it before. Like combat, you can sort of like take it or leave it. You know, combat's alright. I had some fun with it, but like I don't feel like that was what shone. It's just but the characters, the story, and just kind of being able to experience that. Like I genuinely just played it as like an interactive movie. I mean, if there was an option just to go back and do a second playthrough where you can put the controller down and the game just plays for you and I can watch it, I would 100% do that, because I just loved, like, you know, and I mean, and that's going from someone that, like, you know, I don't typically, if ever I, you know, because I prefer more like action combat games, or, you know, the kind of sort of thing where I can just like jump in and just like mess around and just sort of, you know, and then the story's kind of something that I can run in the background. You know, this is obviously, because it's an RPG first, like the story is front and center. It's like the backbone of the game. You know, I often find that I tend to sort of like slow down on those games, or they don't necessarily like grab me too much. But this one, just like, I love the whole thing. So yeah, I definitely really enjoyed it. It's just, yeah, I really hope they can. You know, it's going to be tough to come back, because I appreciate it's been like, there's a lot of stuff that's been happening recently, you know, so it's going to be tough to try and sort of like, I don't know, clear this off your record and sort of come back from it. But I really hope they can just patch it to the point where, you know, fast forward next year, everyone can kind of like appreciate it how it should be played, because there is a fantastic game there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if there's any patch in that Xbox One, like a base Xbox One console. Like, it's so bad. I don't know if there's any patch in that. Like, it's just, it's just not powerful enough to run that game. Like, I think that's what it comes down to.
It just looks strange. There's like when I was looking at it, I was like, this legitimately looks like the bootleg movie you watch where someone has recorded the screen with their phone.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it looks like. It's kind of grainy. You can't see any of the colors properly. It's like a little washed out.
Like VHS copy of a VHS copy of a VHS copy.
It
like,
really
it's just, like,
is.
Lost.
And it's like it's trying to show the same game to you, but it looks so strange. It's just so freaking weird.
My friend sent me a screenshot yesterday, like when he was playing, and I was like, it sounded like a jokey comment, but I was like, "What are you playing this on the N64?" Because it literally looked like, you know, like the character models from GoldenEye when you like, just. And I was like, "What the hell?"
It is
you can outrun. You can easily outrun how fast that game can load in models. Oh, no. So like you'll be running through like a bar or something, and what you're still looking at close up are those like far away models. Like they're only supposed to be viewed from so far away that they're just pixels on a screen basically, but they're
My
still
favorite,
there. And like it looks bad.
My favorite part was Briar whipping out his gun, and he's like, "Wait for it, wait for it." It hadn't shown up yet, and then it just materializes. That was
Wow.
You know, I have played the same copy of the game on an Xbox Series X, and it certainly runs better. The frame rate is higher, although not perfect, and not even really that good. Like it still drops pretty low, but it still doesn't look great. Like it's got a lot of that fuzz. I don't know what that fuzz is. I've
It's
never
fuzz.
seen it in another game, but it's like the game can't render something correctly, so it just like puts this like some kind of like this like graphical fuzz. Like you're looking at what should be like just like a golden wall, right? But it's got like this. It's almost like static
Dithering.
on everything. It's a little bit like dithering, yeah. And it's everywhere. So I'm hoping that at least the Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5 versions come out looking more like what I've seen on the PC, but I don't know if this game ever should have hit a console at all. Maybe it should have just been a PC game.
It's a very different experience. I was watching Briar, and I'm like, the world just feels so empty on console. There's no life to it on console, and that's a big part of what's enjoyable about the game is when you're walking around the world and feeling like you're a part of the world. Yeah, exactly. That's a big part of RPGs in general, and on console it's just kind of missing. So I think honestly they'll have to build it from the ground up for consoles.
Ugh, that's a big job.
Yes, it is. But I don't think any amount of patches are going to make it be the same experience or even close, really.
But I gotta say, like playing on the PC, I've been having a marvelous time. It's not crashing like it was. They've already patched it a few times since launch. Like it's the characters, the stories, the missions. Each one mission feels different, and that's hard to do in an open world game. Mm-hmm. Every time I go on a mission, I know I'm gonna go shoot some people, but like the setup, the process of it is all different. Sometimes you can sneak around. Sometimes you just talk to people. So, like there's one mission where I go on. And it's just like this random dude. He's like a trucker, or a truck driver, or a garbage guy or something. And he wants me to go and help him kill this guy who killed his wife. So I go with him. We're running up on this guy who's getting transferred from one detention facility to another. He's already been arrested. We roll up on this guy, and my buddy gets shot, like boom, right off the bat. So I'm standing there in the middle of the street, like, what do I do? Should I reload the mission? Like, I don't know. Did I just fail this mission? And then the cops start talking to me, saying, "Come on over. We won't shoot you. Just come on over." So I walk over, and the prisoner starts talking to me, and it ends up being this whole quest where I'm dealing with this prisoner who is about to be crucified on live video to atone for his sins. And I'm like, what? I didn't see this coming.
Yeah, I haven't done that.
And I don't want to ruin anything, but it goes some weird places, that mission. And it is like it to me, that's like the stuff that makes this kind of game so much fun. It's just like the weirdness of it and the fun of like meeting these characters. And
what was funny about the mission? I failed that mission 3 times because on the first one, just the setup, when you're driving down with your buddy to try and go and meet this person, I kind of, it was part of that time where like I've been playing a lot, so I wasn't really paying too much attention. I wasn't really listening to him, so I was like, all right. It was like, I'll follow this guy, and like because obviously the policeman always comes out. I always just thought I would just have to fight. I didn't realize it was the person in the back. I thought it was the policeman. So for like 3 times, I went down. I just decked the policeman, like defeated him, and then obviously in this game it ramps up crazily because all the cops get flooded in. So I took out all the cops, and then the super cops come in. I was like, how do I defeat these? So I reloaded about 3 or 4 times, and every time I just run up, punch the policeman, and then eventually I stopped to listen. I was like, all right, let me see where this plays out. I was like, oh, I'm not supposed to kill him, and then I let it play out.
That's funny.
Also, I think that Jackie is my character of the year. Like, I really had fun. Like, I played in the Nomad Path, which has like it has a good lead into your relationship with Jackie as a character. And then I really found that relationship to be fun. So that helped me because the game doesn't really start for 6 hours, which is kind of weird. Like you don't like first playthrough, you don't really start open worlding for the first 6 hours. But I fully fall in love with this broken game. And it's one of my games of the year.
I've definitely been enjoying it. I was just gonna say I've definitely been enjoying it. I haven't finished it yet. I've kind of been waiting for them to patch more stuff just in case I get some sort of like god awful bug that destroys my save file. In fact, I saw one thing where people were getting their save files corrupted if they crafted too much stuff, and there's no fix to it.
Great.
I was like, oh dear God, can you imagine crafting so much that your save file gets like?
Their recommendation was to stop picking things up.
Oh no.
Yeah, that's pretty rough, you know. But I've definitely been enjoying it.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I've definitely been enjoying it. I hope it gets patched to a state that most people can play it. That's good, especially in the consoles, because it's been a wild ride and it's super fun experience. There's one just random thing like. Actually, Brian, I was going to ask you, did you get the Overwatch sniper rifle from Pan Am?
Yeah.
You've been using that? That thing's awesome.
I think it's pretty good.
Yeah, it feels like a power hitting thing. But I was going to say, there was one time someone started charging me. It was like, Dick's hard, charge! I was like, what?
Yeah, man. That dude's living his best life.
Oh my God.
It's like, I guess we're taking care of this situation. Okay.
There was a moment when Briar was playing yesterday when he's in the car with Jackie and it's literally just him and Jackie and there's some dude talking. I'm like, who is that? Who is the person who's talking?
Like yelling.
Yeah, they're screaming.
Yeah, it's got more than its share of open world jank. That is for sure.
Definitely.
It really is still a broken game. And by saying it's one of my favorite games of the year, I am not recommending anybody buys it in its current state.
Eventually.
Hopefully next year it'll come into its own. It'll have a No Man's Sky redemption.
Yeah, looking forward to that 2021 release of Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
There we go.
I'm telling you, it's gonna come out when the anime comes out. They're gonna be like, yeah.
They'll do a bundle. It'll be Halo Infinite and Cyberpunk in the same box.
Yeah, Halo Infinite's delay is looking smarter and smarter every day, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, last game. Is this the last round?
Last round. All right.
Let's do it.
I'm kind of cheating here because my game of 2021 didn't come out in 2021, but has continued to be updated in 2021. And I got a shout out to Monster Hunter World Iceborne because you know what?
I knew you were gonna pick Iceborne, and I thought you were gonna go because it went released on PC.
That too. I could have gone with that angle, but I just feel like it's one of those ones where obviously they always support it for a year, and the content they've been dropping this year has been fantastic. They're going from like adding in Safi, adding in Alatreon, adding in Fatalis. Like Fatalis is probably one of the best ends to because when you had World, the base game was like it was still fantastic, but it didn't have like a it had like a load of additions, but none of them sort of felt like an end because obviously it wasn't the end, right? Obviously it was Iceborne. Whereas Fatalis, in Monster Hunter Legend is such a, impactful creature. It is like this world-ending creature. So the way that they sort of delivered that fight and the fact they took those learnings from Alatreon, which kind of had mixed responses because it was sort of difficult, but in like an unfair difficulty way. Whereas Fatalis was just like a tough fight, but really, really cool. The whole spectacle with it, and just like continuing to. Monster Hunter, like they always do this. This isn't anything new for World and Iceborne. Like all the previous handheld games, they've always continued to support it with like free updates, not in the same magnitude as this, because the past games have always just been like same monster, different configuration. Whereas this is actually like new content. But just like continually adding to that game. It's another one of those ones in the same ballpark as Tsushima, where it's like you buy the game and you have so much insane value. Like, they're not making you spend a single penny. You can keep coming back. It might not keep you playing all day, every day, but you can keep coming back. I have to mention it.
Yeah, gotta give a shout out to Monster Hunter.
I think that's fair. Yeah.
Monster Hunter World has been just phenomenal the whole way through.
Yeah, it really
and
has.
with 2021, we're getting a new release, right?
Yeah, which is looking real good.
So that addiction can continue to you can maintain that.
Is there
a little drip
Couple
going
months
into
away.
the vein?
Yeah, there's a release date for that, right? Do we have?
March 26th. So and they've got a demo dropping in January. No date for it yet, but just like they said, there's January. So but you were able to go hands on in January. They've like this past week they've been dropping some weapon videos for it, and they look
Exciting.
so cool, like showing us some of the moves and stuff. So and they've already confirmed they'll do the usual kind of post-launch support and stuff. So you can expect that once Rise comes out in March, using the kind of same historical kind of data, then yeah, you're looking at like another year of free support and stuff. So
I can't believe we're finally going to get the Monster Hunter that we deserve on the platform that we know we like want to play Monster Hunter on, right?
the definitive
Mhm.
platform.
The
I
definitive
know, right?
platform. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. I can once again
Me
take
too.
Monster Hunter with me anywhere I go.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Like I'm looking forward to that very much so.
It looks real good.
Definitely. That's me.
All right, Watts, number 3.
I gotta bring up not a new game, but a game that's worth talking about, and that is Demon Souls. Because I think this is the first next gen game that genuinely looks and feels next gen. This is really kicking off the generation of, hey, look what we can do, where everything just looks so good, it's so crisp, it's so clear, and it's beautiful. It's just a beautiful, beautiful game.
Mm-hmm. The animations, like visuals, obviously are fantastic, and when you get close to texture maps, you don't sense the last gen BS with the texture maps. It all seems high def or 4K, but the animations are so smooth, and you don't really like notice that type of stuff when you don't notice it when it looks right. Right? It's one of those things where it's like, well, yeah, of course it's supposed to look like nice fluid animations. And then you see something like Cyberpunk, and you're like, oh, right, that's what janky animations look like.
What? I think T-posing on top of a moving motorcycle is perfectly realistic.
Hold on.
You always see like the beginning set point of the animation in Cyberpunk. You're like, oh, I'm on a wall now. Oh, now I'm suddenly standing. But like none of that happens in Demon Souls. At least I don't think. None of it happens in Demon Souls.
It's so good. And when you're talking to characters and the way that their face is moving, I'm just like, you're like looking like a person.
Yeah.
Just very, and you don't notice it until like you said, until it's done like so good where you're looking at it and you're like, wow, this is different to what I'm normally experiencing.
Yeah.
And just the combat is phenomenal. The stages are great. Looks great. Armor that you can get is great. The replayability of New Game Plus is totally there. And like I said, not a new game, but I think it's definitely worth mentioning because it's kicking off the generation of what things can look like.
I think they changed enough about this game. Like they updated this game in such a massive way that I think it totally qualifies as a new game. Like it looks you said it looks next gen. It's the first game that you played that looks next gen. I completely agree. It really does look next gen.
Yeah.
FromSoft is so good at world building and kind of telling a story through environment. And what is it? Blue Point that made this? They did the what they did was they added to that. To my opinion, they brought that forward with high resolution graphics and high, like modern. The game now looks modern, and it does. To me, it doesn't lose anything that FromSoft does when they build a level. It only adds to it. It's a gorgeous game. It also does something that I think is really subtle, but it really adds to the experience. Is it uses the dual sense controller in a really special way. It doesn't overdo it. It's not like playing Astro's Adventure or Astrobot, where that's the gimmick of the game is playing with the dual sense controller and all its features. This uses the DualSense in a way that is subtle. It conveys information to you, but it doesn't draw your attention away from the combat. It doesn't draw your attention to the controller. You can still feel immersed in the combat, in the world. And I think that's it's just a small detail that goes to show the attention to detail that they really showed with this remake. I think it's a fantastic game.
The controller scared me. The controller, genuinely, when I'm playing it, it's okay, the controller vibrates, great, fantastic. But this was when you're standing in an area and you get poisoned, and the controller's just and it's like, dear Lord, it was terrifying. Nothing's even happening. No one's trying to attack me. I'm just getting it's really scary. And then when you're standing next to a beating heart and you move to your side and then the other side, and you can feel the heartbeat traveling through the controller.
That's dope.
Love it so much. It's like you said, Brian, you explained it perfectly, where it's not crazy, it's not in your face, but the things that they've done really does enhance your experience of the game. It brings you into the game even more.
Yeah, I also completely agree. I think it's the first true next gen title because it's not on anything else. It's only on PS5, so they fully embraced what the PS5 can do. There's no we gotta make sure it can run on PS4 old hardware or something.
Yeah. Tefty?
Well, I already said my,
That's all your games?
Well, no, those were
You
my
did
third
2 in
games.
1. You did a twofer.
Yeah, I remember I said
Oh, okay.
those were my like the tier 3 was the indie games. Not that they're tier 3, but just.
I was really hoping that one other person was going to mention one of the other games on my list because I got 2 games on the end of my list, and since I'm the last person, I'm just going to go with both of them.
Go for it.
The first one is Streets of Rage 4. I thought this game was phenomenal.
Ooh, yeah.
It was an absolute throwback to the Streets of Rage series on the Genesis. It modernized Streets of Rage in a way that I think was extremely smart. It didn't overdo it. It didn't try and build like 3D models and like go over the top with like ultra violence and like I'm a badass and fuck you and fuck this and like it stayed true to the Streets of Rage feel and look, but it modernized it with HD graphics. It modernized it with new moves. New enemies, new characters to fight as. Like it felt like if we never got the 3D revolution, like with the PlayStation and the Saturn and all that stuff, if games had stayed 2D, what would they look like now? Well, Streets of Rage is what they would look like and what they would play like, and it's a perfect homage, but also a really good game in and of itself as like a modern beat 'em up game, which you just don't see that often anymore. I loved it.
I was surprised when I was like, "Oh, interesting, new Streets of Rage," and then I played it. I was like, "This is awesome!" And the music, animations, it was awesome.
Yeah.
Is this game on Game Pass as well? I think it's on Game Pass as well, so you can play it for free if you have Game Pass. It's also on Switch, PS4, PC. It's like on everything. It's absolutely worth buying. Like it's really that good.
Yeah.
Even if it looks like a game that. I don't know. Like I shouldn't even say like I shouldn't recommend anybody buy anything because I'm just setting myself up. But like I think this is an excellent game and it's critically
Game Pass, right?
underlooked. Yeah, Game Pass. Go after it.
I played it on PC. It had bugs. I can't remember specifically. There was some weird stuff that happened with it, but for the most part, it's not Cyberpunk level bugs.
Yeah. I kind of feel like if you play any game day one now, you should expect bugs.
Yeah. Yep.
To be honest, I played it on Xbox and on Switch, and both of those were awesome experiences. I kind of like Switch better, just because it's kind of like a great like handheld game. It's perfect like a game you can play for 5 minutes, put it down, pick it back up, start playing again. I love that in a Switch game.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yep.
And my cheater game, the last game I'm gonna pick is Last of Us Part 2.
There it is.
Forever about this game when it came out, and I really like this game. I know that other people on this podcast really can't stand it. I was personally disappointed when it won Game of the Year at the Game Award show, whatever that is.
Yeah.
Like, because I don't think it deserved the Game of the Year. But if I'm making a list of the top games of the year, it absolutely has to be on it. I mean, the storytelling is really good. I know that at the end it loses a lot of people. Graphically, I don't think there's anything that's ever been done on a PlayStation that competes with this thing graphically, like on a technical basis. Like the environmental storytelling is FromSoft levels of detail. Like being able to walk through an apartment and tell exactly what these people were doing when like the zombie apocalypse hit this world was insane. The characters were so real and detailed. Like I really loved not just Ellie, not just I forgot her name, like the girl that everybody hates. Abby, thank you. But just the ancillary characters, the people that you kind of it does this funny thing where you kill a bunch of people as Ellie, and then the second half of the game you start playing as Abby, spoilers, and you meet all those people and you fall in love with all those people, and it's a really, I think, an effective storytelling thing. I love this game. I don't love this game as much as some others on this list, but to leave it off of the list, I think would be a crime.
I feel like the reason that I enjoyed, well, no, how do I phrase this? I thought it was a good game, but it's a weird thing. It's a weird thing to when you talk about Last of Us Part 2, is because it was so traumatic. I wouldn't consider it an enjoyable experience. Like I enjoyed my time playing Tsushima. I enjoyed my time playing all these other games. I didn't enjoy myself going through the heart wrench that was Last of Us Part 2. It was an experience. It was a good, well told experience. Was it an enjoyable experience? Hell no. I'm just sitting there stressful. I'm just like, this is like my heart's going. I'm just like, I feel like every time a clicker comes around the corner and tries to just jump on my back, it reminded me of when I used to play Ocarina of Time and the zombies would jump on your back and start screeching at you. I was like, nah. Like I had to take breaks. I was like, this is too much. So I would not say it was an enjoyable experience.
There's not a worse time for that game to come out either. Yeah, in the middle of a pandemic, when everybody's stuck at home, like it couldn't have come out at a worse time. Like,
yeah,
should have come out during a happy year so you can get your little dose of depression.
Yeah,
well, we haven't had one of those in a long time.
That definitely kind of sums it up for me as well, because like it's on a technical level what they achieved, being able to put that on a PS4, like that.
Yeah,
it was a technical masterpiece with the visual level. The animations, like I enjoyed the systems that they improved upon from the original Last of Us. Everything about it was amazing, from all the details of the art to the character models to like just so high. Like the technical level is so incredibly high on that. And then they just really doubled down on this story arc that made you extremely uncomfortable. And I was okay with it up to the end of the second act, where like you had the knockdown drag out fight where you were super conflicted about having to fight basically what you thought was the main character, you know?
Yeah.
If they had finished it there, I'd been like, all right, Naughty Dog, I see you.
Oh.
And then they did this third act, that just drug it out and beat the freaking dead horse. And like some people were like, no, that's so good though, because it really makes you see some sort of like parallel or some connection about how you just can't let it go. She's an addict, addicted to whatever the crap. And I'm like, as a video game, no thanks. It was not fun. I will pass. I never want to play that game again. It was a technical perfection. I will never boot that title up again because I hated that experience. And that's not what I'm looking for when I play video games and escape my current reality, you know?
Yeah. To me, it was like watching a movie that's about a depressing topic. It's not, you don't leave the movie theater thinking, like laughing. It's like that scene in, I think it was Naked Gun 2, where they go on a date to see Platoon and they're walking out of the movie theater laughing their asses off and giggling, right? It's not like that. But nonetheless, it was, I really enjoyed the storytelling of it. I thought it got a little long-winded at the end, but I really liked where it went. I do believe this is also like the middle of a 3-part series. And because of that, I think it's dark. I think it's like the dark middle section to hopefully a redemption.
It's going to end
redemptive.
More depressing.
I hope not. I hope we see good things for these characters in the third game, which I have no doubt.
It would be nice. Yeah.
In my mind, it's coming. But I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed isn't the right word. I agree with you, Eric's. I really appreciated what it did, and I thought it was. Yeah. And the combat was way better than the first game.
Combat was way better. Everything about this game was better than the first game, except for the way they decided to do the arc of the story. And I know you disagree on that because you had experiences, you had a certain feel that happened with it. It's like not all those feels have to happen in video games, in my opinion.
Yeah, I hear you. I don't agree with you, but I hear you. I think B Vega has a good point in chat where he says it was like watching The Joker, best movie I'll never watch again. Like I definitely have movies like, oh, that was great. I never want to see it again.
I guess it's like Ghost of Tsushima for me. That story was so much better. And like I loved the story that I saw or that like I experienced in Ghost of Tsushima so much that I would play it again. Whereas this, like, I was already on the edge once you started playing as Abby.
It'd be different for different people. I played the same story you did in Ghost
I know, that's
of Tsushima.
What I'm saying.
It didn't connect with me at all.
But that's what I'm saying. You connected.
Eric's really likes
you
Valhalla,
connected with
and it doesn't
Last
connect
of Us.
with me at all.
You connected with The Last of Us. Like I'd never want to see that story again.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully the third game will be a little more lighthearted.
Honestly,
it'll be nice if they do it because then maybe people will be like, okay, so yeah, play the second one. It's gonna get real deep dive, like, because maybe you can recommend the second one more if the third one ends up in a place that is more palatable.
Honestly, I'm probably gonna skip it. The way they ended it for me, I was like, okay, I'm done with this world. I do not care about these. I don't care about these characters anymore.
What if they said for the third game, psych, number 2 was only a dream, and then you wake up and it's like Joel is like, hey, what's up, Eddie? Let's go on an adventure. You're like, oh, okay.
What if the third one, hear me out here, came with a free map like my physical edition of Cyberpunk? Huh?
What if there's a
Am I
map?
told you now? What if it came with a free month of HBO Max?
HBO Max.
Did it really come with
Here's
a free
another
month of
one.
HBO Max?
Yeah. it
What
did.
if, right?
What a weird
What
tie-in.
if a third
Yeah.
one put in an extra spin, and this time you play as a clicker to understand their perspective
Oh
of how
yeah.
they feel.
Oh, that
We
sounds
learned
like a
that
good
the
idea.
clickers have complex societal structures and complex emotions.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Become the ultimate fungus.
exactly. Fun game for fun guys.
I'm really excited about this show because I think we hit like just a bunch of really good games. Like, it makes me feel good to feel like we put some appreciation back toward these games in a way, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Been a
always
good year.
you know, it's a fun thing to do. It ended up being a good year, Watts. You know, for video games, right?
For video
Yeah.
games. Specifically video games. Yes.
I was looking at. I remember talking about this year, kind of looking at it from the outside, thinking, well, there's a few games, but really, it doesn't look like it's going to be that strong a year compared to 2019, which was just banger after banger.
Yeah.
But I ended up having a ton of fun with games that came out of left field for me.
My concern is that 2021 is going to be pretty light on games because of so much. Like, there was a lot of stuff that was already in development coming into 2020 that was getting prepped for release, obviously.
Yeah.
Well, this
yeah.
year obviously has been a huge hit to development time. Like, how much offset is that going to actually affect with the things that were planned for 2021, 2022? You know?
Yeah.
I'll be
Well-
all right because all I need to do is play Monster Hunter Rise for the entirety of 2021 until they release Breath of the Wild 2, and then play that for the rest of
There you
2021.
go.
I'm sorted.
Is Breath of the Wild 2 coming out in 2021?
Rumored. I mean, we haven't heard anything of it since, but I mean, those are the current rumors. Well, originally the rumors were like beginning of the year, but then the current rumors are like summertime, which honestly would be great. I would really not like Breath of the Wild to launch alongside Rise because then I would neither be able to enjoy either of them. So summer for Breath of the Wild would be fantastic. A summer just to sit and play Zelda and like go offline. Whew, that'd be amazing. And Final Fantasy 16 supposedly. Supposedly.
Yeah. Halo Infinite. Cyberpunk's coming out in 2021. That'll be
Yeah.
fun.
Lots
I
of
mean,
look forward to.
probably the game I'm looking most forward to right now in 2021 is Kenna Bridge of Spirits.
Oh, yes,
Because that
yes,
game
yes,
just
yes,
looks
yes.
gorgeous. It looks like it's gonna play really well, and I think it's gonna be something real special. I'm excited.
Do you think
If
Elden Ring?
God of War comes out in 2021, I'd be shocked.
Yeah. I mean, the fact they said 2021 when they revealed it, but I mean, the fact we've seen nothing, I don't know, unless they start the marketing campaign like real early, then
I could maybe Horizon Zero Dawn too, but I mean, this pandemic's throwing everything off, so who knows?
Yeah, right.
I don't want anything to ever get released before it's done. I mean, Cyberpunk. I think that's the lesson we should all take from Cyberpunk.
Yes.
Don't pre-order, and don't get mad when devs postpone games.
Yeah,
Right.
it's for a reason. Just
Yeah.
wait it out,
Do you think
especially
Elden
for a
Ring?
console.
Do you think Elden Ring's gonna get any kind of action in
Oh my
2021?
god!
No.
I don't think Elden Ring exists anymore.
No.
I've lost hope. I don't think
They
it exists.
it's funny because the Twitter account, like, especially because Demon Souls came out, right? So a lot of people were talking about FromSoft games, and they had to, because so many people were like Elden Ring.
Yeah, right.
People were like, yeah, they had to. The Twitter account had to say Elden Ring is happening. We're very happy. You're very excited. And that was all they said.
In a way, I'm happy that they're giving some distance between last gen and next gen, because this way they can definitely just do like this now current gen as opposed to last gen. Because if they had released it this year, they probably would have had to support last gen to be viable or whatever, and that would have hindered the freaking game. So maybe it's,
I hope it's a next gen and PC only. I know not everyone is going to have those consoles for a while, but it just, we've seen what Demon Souls can do.
Yeah.
And it's a big difference in how it looks.
Exactly.
Yeah, it has to happen anyway. Right? So I completely understand. Like when you're on the release of a new generation, like we are right now. Like there's certain degree of, if games have been announced, that's kind of happening. But like once these new consoles are out and we're moving forward, you have to accept the reality that like we are moving into a new generation. Like it's not to sort of say, oh, ha, you can't play this game. Like obviously, if everyone can play it, you can, but you can't expect these games to continue being developed for the old systems, because otherwise you just it's like what's the point in a new generation if we can't start moving forward? So yeah, I feel like if it's been announced for it, then fair enough. But yeah, moving on to the rest of them, I think it needs to start just like let's go. Because
look at Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, Cyberpunk is hindered drastically from old tech.
Yeah.
That's putting it lightly. It's like a different game. Tefty, it looks so bad on an Xbox One. It really does. It looks like a PS2 game.
Oh, that's rough.
It's running at such a low resolution.
Oh man. Is that the
I'll tell you, that was a fun stream playing it though. It was stupid, but it was fun.
It was
Thank
very,
you
very, very fun.
Thank you to Sparty for sending me the Sparty box so I could play
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, is that the episode?
I think so.
I think so. That's 2020 in video games.
2020
everybody.
wrapped up. Yeah.
2020 complete.
2020 complete. Yeah, it was awesome. It was great going through and thinking about like the year in games for 2020. I hope 2021 is just as good, but I'm also prepared to embrace the fact that we could have the remnants of the pandemic having ripples into 2021 and 2022 for production. I think about like TV shows and movies and all that. Think about how much has been put on hold that usually requires at least a year or more of post-production that just can't happen because they've had to stop all that stuff. So
Tom Cruise is wicked mad about it.
Exactly. So, there's we could be in for a drought in like content potentially, or not. Things might.
I still got like 300 hours of Assassin's Creed Valhalla to play.
So exactly. Yeah.
True.
Yep.
We can go back and play all the Dark Souls from the beginning.
All the Dark Souls.
Yeah,
exactly.
maybe 2021 is just a backlog year where like they're like, we're going to release not many games, so you can complete all the games you haven't played yet.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
I actually just came back from the game store a little while ago. I picked up Prey and Assassin's Creed Syndicate for Xbox One. Both games I've never played.
Nice.
Looking forward to that.
Nice. All right.
There's tons of games to play. Some of them aren't brand new.
That's true.
You save a lot of money buying $8 games.
True.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for tuning in, watching, and listening. Shout out to our Patreon members for supporting the podcasts here at DCP. And shout out to our Twitch subs as well for supporting us live. You guys are awesome. Everybody's awesome. Thanks for watching.
Everyone's
listening. Yeah, everyone's awesome. Eric's, where can people find you?
Nowhere. I'm on holiday for the next 2 weeks, so I'll catch you guys in the new year. But you know where to find me anyway. The usual places.
Watts?
I am Miss 5000 Watts. Find me on Twitter, Twitch, on YouTube. Look for Miss 5000 Watts.
Briar.
I'm Briar Rabbit. You can find me cruising the streets of Cyber City or Night City in my awesome new Porsche. I love that they got the Porsche license. I think that's the only real car they got for that game.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that car. You can also find me on Twitter. I've got a video coming out tomorrow where I'll be talking about the Xbox Series X after a month of ownership. And I might slip in a video about the Xbox One version of Cyberpunk because I think it's
definitely
hilarious.
should. Because I tell you, if you want to stream Cyberpunk, stream it on a base console.
Yeah, it's definitely the way to stream it, I think.
It's the way to go.
Get cyberpunked. I'm Tefty Teft. You can talk to me at Teft on Twitter and catch my streams, twitch.tv/Tefty Teft. And looking forward to content. Content.
Give me the games.
Yeah. Thanks for watching, everyone. We really appreciate all the support. And it's been an awesome year of episodes. So
sure has.
Yeah.
It definitely has.
All right. See you next
See you in 2021.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.